when you're seeking something outside of yourself to make yourself feel better or know that you're worthy or know that you're deserving, you're in your ego, you're in your protective part, you're in your perfectionism. If you're doing something to get external validation, you're in your perfectionism. I'm going to stay up late so this project is perfect so the CEO will finally see what I'm capable of. That's the slippery slope to perfectionism. I need to wait until I lose 10 pounds until I can get back on the dating scene again. If you're doing what you're doing so that other people will find you more desirable, more digestible, more attractive, that's a slippery slope.
Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high-achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life-altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod.
Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom in a life unperfected. Hello, 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 my love. So happy and grateful that you are here. I have another interesting conversation to have with you today, something that I've really been contemplating on. So, one of the intentions that I've been setting for myself lately is to give myself a little more room, a little more space to actually contemplate. And while we have not had an abundance of that in summer, because you already know the summer is hard for us working moms. However, it's August. We've officially made it to August. That means in just 2 weeks, my sweetie, the youngest, is going back to school, which means I can open up my calendar a little more. And instead of immediately adding in more things I can do, more people I can see, more blah, 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 I'm actually going to leave quite a bit of spaciousness for number one, my dance classes, because listen to me. I have not been able to get to my dance classes as much this summer because my availability is weird and I'm with my daughter. She doesn't like going to the gym, daycare, whatever. So, priority numero uno, once that cutie goes back to school, is I need to shake my ass in the dance class at least once a week, preferably twice a week. So, that is happening Friday mornings again and every other Saturday when my husband is off. That's number one. Number two, I want to make sure I have the space to feel alive, which I'm doing in the dance class, but I also want like longer meditations. I want to get back in nature. I want to have a hike. When it's ski season, I maybe want to ski. So I'm like, Tuesday mornings, no, those are for me to be in nature. Then the third thing that I'm creating space for, instead of just adding responsibilities to my calendar, is time for contemplation. Time for me to actually sit with my darn self and think about things, feel about things, intuit about things, sense about things, dream about things, come up with my own philosophies about things. Because I am a sponge. I am a collector of information and ideas, and I love to invest in programs. And I always have multiple coaches and mentors and doing my own work and energy healing and therapy. And I'm reading books and I'm listening to podcasts and I have a growth mindset and blah, blah, blah. Your girl loves to learn. But I want to know what I think about things. And I need space for that. So one of the things I've been noticing is that because I'm in recovery, active recovery of perfectionism, which means that sometimes it sneaks its ugly head up to the surface and says, oh, you need to learn more and you need to know more and you need to be the best and you need to know more about that and more about that. And I'm like, whoa, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I think that's fueled by perfectionism. Well, know that I actually need to learn more right now. I actually need to pause, breathe, regulate my nervous system, and ask myself what I think about some of these things. Ask my own inner guidance system what she thinks about things. And I need to ask some juicy questions. And so, one of the juicy questions that's been coming up that I'm giving myself some space to contemplate, and I will continue contemplating, but I want to bring you into this discussion. I'm curious what you think about it is the fine line, the slippery slope, if you will, between having high standards and being stuck in perfectionism. What is the line? And so I want to unpack that today because I've taken some time to think about this and process this and feel my way through this. And I've written some things down and I want to share them with you today. All right. Before we get into that, a couple things. Number one, Unstuck and Unstoppable, my brand new online program is live, but it's an evergreen program, meaning you can join at any time. So if you've been feeling really frozen and stuck, where you cannot see the forest through the trees, you are not getting where you want to go, you're not even sure what the next step is, and you're paralyzed in indecision and procrastination and anxiety, this program is designed for you. I am going to teach you the psychology, neuroscience, and energetics of getting unstuck and becoming unstoppable. I'm going to guide you through guided visualizations and meditations. I'm going to help you reconnect to your vision. I'm going to help you become the CEO of yourself and your life. I'm going to help you reverse engineer your biggest, juiciest, hairiest dreams into achievable goals and then break those down into baby steps so that you can trick your mind and nervous system into action. I'm going to help you build resilience and self compassion. I'm going to help you with time management and setting boundaries and protecting your dream. I'm going to help you in taking care of yourself. Listen, everything I teach in all of my containers, I've boiled it down into this freaking program. It's 5 modules, it's self paced. I did a live kickoff coaching call. The recording of that is in there. I'm also sweetening the deal. I'm going to go into that group live once a month to coach you, to make sure that you are showing up for the work, that you're completing the program, that you're doing what you said you were going to do, not in a way a perfectionist does, but in a way that you are taking strategic, intentional, and aligned action, that you are not letting the latest trigger derail you, that you are getting back up and trying again and trying different, that I get to be your accountability person. I get to be the one that inspires you and shows up and stands for your goals and your dreams and your greatness. So, guys, this program is incredible. If you go through the Perfectionism Detox Masterclass, which the link is in the show notes, you will get half off the program. The program will be $555 instead of $1,111. You can make 2 payments. So for the price of 2 freaking therapy sessions with me, you can get forever access to everything I know and teach and a monthly coaching call with me and a community of women who are doing it too. This is a program that is approachable and affordable to all. So if it's the time for you and I am ready to do things differently, I am ready to become unstuck and unstoppable. I am ready to become the woman, the wife, the leader, the mentor, the person I want to be. I want new and meaningful outcomes. Then get your fanny in this program. Go through the detox masterclass to get your discount. I cannot wait to see you in there. I'm having so much fun with that. And yeah, it's worth every freaking penny. You will be moved. You will be shifted. You will be different going through that program. Number two, personal life update. My sweetie Chloe turned 7. Oh my God, how is my baby 7? So I have a 21-year-old in college. I have a 7-year-old. I got to spend Friday. I took Friday off work. I got to take Chloe up to Boulder to see my son. He just moved apartments and I wanted to help him get it put together. I wanted to take him grocery shopping. I wanted to spend time with him. It was supposed to be just a Camden and mommy date, but our nanny got COVID. So it was a Camden Chloe mommy date. One thing that I want to talk about is, or I'm trying to navigate. So I want to normalize is I want to be able to spend some time with just Camden because a lot of the times precious Chloe is with us, but I want my son to have time with me, to have my presence, to have my pure attention, especially now that he's 21 and he's starting to make some big life choices. This is where your girl thrives as a mother. I'm like, oh, I get to be your coach. Frick, yes. And so I want that time with him where I can help him get organized and help him create systems in his home that are kind to his nervous system and his creation. And I want to help him follow his bliss, but also start to make some decisions around what will my life look like and where do I want to be in the world and how will I make enough to live, but also still be having fun and what's my relationship like. And he's like climbing the corporate ladder at Kava right now, and he's learning all sorts of leadership lessons there. And I want to support him and mirror for him his authentic leadership. And it's hard to do when I have a cutie little 6 year old, now 7, who's mommy and wants Cam's attention. So it's an interesting thing to try to navigate, like having that one to one time with your kids, but then also having the family time, the group together, but then also having the whole family with the husband and the partner. It's interesting, isn't it? Now, I'm not saying I have the answer because there isn't one, but we do have to be adaptable. My intention was to spend that day with Camden and then to bring him home so he could have Friday night with us as a family and then be there for Chloe's birthday on Saturday. But I can't control that our childcare now has COVID. And so my cutie came with us and we made the best of it. And it was really special and really beautiful. And Friday night, we had this moment, me and my husband, my son, and my daughter in the backyard. We haven't had a really juicy family moment in a little bit. It's been a while. Like, you guys know that as your family, your kids get bigger, they have lives, they have social lives, they have work lives, they have obligations. Like, it's hard to get everybody together. But when we do, honey, Cam was playing the guitar and Chloe was jumping on the tramp, and me and Tony were having a conversation, and Tony and Camden were having a drink. I'm not drinking, but they had a drink. And next thing I know, I come around the corner and Cam's on one knee holding Chloe, and they're talking about clouds and the sky. And it was really freaking cool. And then Saturday, we woke up and we had Chloe's birthday party, and that was adorable. Her theme was positive vibes, disco, My Little Pony. And because I teach my kids, everything is figure outable, honey, we went ahead and had a positive vibes disco My Little Pony party, and it was lit, baby. It was lit. We had the disco balls, we had the strobe lights, we had the music. Me and Chloe Friday night went off, but then Saturday, I think the moment that was so juicy for me was Chloe was in the middle and the girls were all holding hands around her dancing. And she had created a playlist for them to dance to, and they were squealing. And some girls were dressed up in disco. And then Camden came in and he was in the center, and the girls were holding hands and dancing around him. And I just had this moment of, this is so precious. My daughter becoming her, my son doing him. We had a really small birthday party. Chloe only had 5 friends so they could really be present with each other and experience one another. And it was just beautiful. And y'all know, as mom, pulling anything off is a freaking journey. And by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I was so exhausted and there was clutter and stuff everywhere. And I was just ready for the weekend to be over. But it was beautiful. And my daughter is 7, and she is just so smart and so witty and so strong and just a force to be reckoned with. And I love her so much. And everybody gifted her like jewelry making kits. And so we taught her how to do it last night. So now she's just going off on making necklaces and rings and bracelets, and just seeing her bond with her big brother and then having deep chats with Camden and my husband showing up the way that he does. And him and I even had little pockets where we were like connecting. He made me laugh because he was like, dude, this is more, I've talked to you more today than I have in 8 months. I'm like, I know, we have got to get it together. So we're definitely setting some intention around when Chloe goes back to school on Thursdays. We're going to have a day date, and we're going to check in and talk about deeper things versus just the logistics. So, anyways, there's a lot of movement and beauty and hard things and all of it going on in my home right now. And so maybe there's a lot of beauty and movement and hard things going on in your home right now. And let's normalize all of that and let's take a breath together and let's just take one step, one day at a time, and try to be as present as we can for these moments. So, all that's going on. Okay, let's get into the juicy question I've been contemplating lately, which is how the hell do we differentiate between high standards and the slippery slope that is perfectionism, and how perfectionism will actually prevent us from living a wild and beautiful life? So, here's what I want to say first to that. Number one, there is absolutely nothing wrong with having high standards. In fact, I strongly encourage you to have high standards. One of the misconceptions that exists out there in the work that I do is if I am having people break up with perfectionism so that they can break free into their best life, they think that I'm saying lower your standards, accept less in your life, only take the easy way. And none of that is true. Hear me when I say that. The part of you that's a perfectionist is also the part of you that has fuel, that leads to your drive, that allows you to have big dreams and goals and want to do things in the world and want to make a meaningful impact. And honey, that is beautiful. Some of that is core to who you are. Some of that is the essence. Like me, dude, my soul chose this earth school to disrupt some shit. I am a force. I have power. I have courage. I have drive. And some of that I get to keep. And it fuels me forward and it helps me get where I want to go. It helps me create the life that I want to live. And the same gets to be true for you, darling. You get to have big dreams. You can have big, hairy, wild goals. You can have high standards. But there is a fine line. There is a slippery slope between high standards and being in your integrity and your deservingness and your worthiness of those standards, and perfectionism, which freezes us and makes us feel stuck and adds a lot of pressure and makes us burn out and feel resentment and experience anxiety and maybe some shitty coping skills to cope with that pressure, like eating, drinking, and spending. My trifecta, right? So we do want to be cognizant and we do want to be aware of that slippery slope between high standards and perfectionism. But what I am not telling you to do is have low standards. You are a high quality woman who is deserving and worthy of all the good that this universe has to offer. And you absolutely get to have high standards, but they're going to come with a different force. They're going to come with different intention. They're going to come with heightened awareness. They're going to come with some consciousness that maybe you didn't have before. So I want to give you 3 things to consider to help you differentiate between high standards, which is totally cool, and perfectionism, which is not so fun. Okay. So the first thing is to notice if and when you fall into extremes. This is your first indicator that you're no longer living consciously in your high standards, baby, in your high frequency. You're on the magic carpet ride down into the perfectionism is in your living in extremes. It needs to be the best. And there's an intensity. My work needs to be the best. My parenting needs to be the best. Oh, and we fall into this cognitive distortion. It's all or nothing. It's either the best blog you've ever read or it's junk and I need to throw it out. I'm either the best mother or I'm the worst mother. I'm either the best leader or I'm terrible. I'm either going to be a New York Times bestselling author or my work is worthless. I'm either the perfect body or I'm a slob. There's nothing in between. When you're falling into extremes, it's all or nothing. It needs to be the best and nothing smaller. You're probably in your perfectionism because high standard says, I have a big vision, I have a big mission, I have big, hairy goals, and I show up each day for that life. And I'm, for the most part, in my integrity. But when I fall out because life happens, I show myself grace and I get back in. I don't need to be the best. I'm not even fucking worried about what other people are doing. It doesn't need to be right now. I'm open to the divine timing of it all. I just want to make meaningful impact. And I just want to show up day after day and see what that yields me. Do you see how that feels? When I'm like, I need to be the best and I need to make this amount of money and I need to do it yesterday and I need to have these credentials and I need to know more and it needs to stand out, that's perfectionism. Can you feel the difference of those two things? So anytime that you're in some version of extreme, I need to go all out for that event. I need to stay up all night to finish that project. I need to be perfect in my presentation. I need to re-edit and re-edit that blog before I put it out. I need to get another degree and another certification before I launch that business. No, that's perfectionism, love. That's keeping you stuck. That is sneakily stealing your time, energy, and sanity. Having high standards says, I want more for myself and I'm going to show up for myself to get it. And I'm going to keep living in my intention. But when I fall out, because I will, because life is messy and life is better unperfected, then I just get back in. I don't derail myself. I don't tell myself some story that I'm worthless or I need to be smarter or better or brighter. I'm actually amazing as I am now. And that fuels me to keep showing up. And when I keep showing up, good things unfold. You feel the difference between those two. So pay attention to extremes. Number two, listen to your body. When you're setting a powerful intention and you have high standards and you show up every day, you tend to fall into flow. And that feels good in your body. There's a spaciousness to that. There's a lighting up inside. There's a, oh my God, time has passed and I didn't even realize I've been doing this for 3 hours. It feels so good. It feels so fun. I feel present. I feel alive. That's high standards. That's showing up in your integrity for your high standards. That's flow. That feels good in the body. When you're on the slippery slope to perfectionism, you fall into force. Flow versus force. And force feels different in the body and in the system. Force feels like contraction, restriction, a crunch, anxiety, headaches, overstimulation, overwhelm, stress, meltdowns, burnout. Your body will tell you, honey, when you are in the force. And that force is the voice in your head telling you it needs to be better and do more and do it faster, which is fueled from your perfectionist. So notice how you feel in your body. And if this one's hard, and this could take you some time to be with and to explore and to experiment because there's a really fine line between excitement and anxiety. So you should have a goal that scares you a little. You should have a mission that scares you a little. But having that excitement of, dude, I get to show up and speak in front of this group. I get to put all my work into a program and launch it. I get to lead this group of women. I get to lead my children. I get to say yes to my partner and keep doing the work with him. I get to launch my podcast out into the world. Yes, it feels scary because it's a big deal and I give a crap. It is okay to give a crap. In fact, I suggest you do. Otherwise, it probably isn't right for you. You can give a crap. You can have your high standards. But when that puts you into a place of force and restriction and contraction and a headache and a tension in your body that feels like yuck, baby, we're off. We off. We're off the program. We're not operating from our higher self, our CEO self. I break this down in my programs. The knowing the difference between your CEO self, your inner child, your wounded parts, your protective parts, your perfectionism, that is a protective part. When they're calling the shots in your life, it feels like things are out of control and I need to control them and it's super emotional and I'm terrible and it's all or nothing and let me try again and push and push and force. That's not it. That's not the money move, baby. We want to set ourselves up to flow, not to force, but your body will indicate which lane you're in. So this requires you to slow down. This requires you to pay attention. This requires you to turn your attention inward and start to open up the channels of communication with your body so that you can hear her when she's screaming, "We're not in the right lane, Brooke. We're trying too hard. We're putting too much pressure. We're staying up too late. It's costing us more than it's giving us. This ain't the move." We have to be able to hear those signs and signals, don't we? And a lot of us have shut off communication with our body since we were 12 years old. So we're not hearing the downloads. We're not hearing the cries for help. We're not hearing the intuitive hits that say maybe you're on the wrong path. So some of us have to start with that. And I've recorded some episodes guiding you through that, but I will continue talking about it because it's really profoundly important. We have to heal in order to become and in order to rise. Start to pay attention to what your body is telling you. Start to build that trust with your body that you're going to check in on her, you're going to listen, and you're going to honor her. Start to clear out the cobwebs of the channels of communication. Start to ask her what she feels about this because she will eventually tell you, right? So, how we know, how we differentiate between having high standards, which is totally appropriate, in fact, recommended, and perfectionism is number one. Are you in any version of an extreme? If you're in an extreme, you're in your perfectionism. Number two, what does your body say? If you're in flow, you're high standards. If you're in force, you're in perfectionism. The final distinguishable element is when you're seeking something outside of yourself to make yourself feel better or know that you're worthy or know that you're deserving, you're in your ego, you're in your protective part, you're in your perfectionism. If you're doing something to get external validation, you're in your perfectionism. I'm going to stay up late so this project is perfect so the CEO will finally see what I'm capable of. That's the slippery slope to perfectionism. I'm going to stay up late to edit and rework this blog because it really matters what people's take on me is. I need to make a perfect first impression. I need to I need to wait until I lose 10 pounds until I can get back on the dating scene again. If you're doing what you're doing so that other people will find you more desirable, more digestible, more attractive, that's a slippery slope. If you're doing what you're doing because in your heart of hearts, this is what you desire, that's the move, right? I have a vision for my life. I have a mission to help millions of women take off their masks and live unperfected. And when I imagine myself speaking to you in these podcasts, writing to you in my book someday, speaking on stages, hosting the coaching programs, meeting with you one to one, when I think about what can happen when we're together, that shit lights me up. I have a smile from ear to ear just thinking about it. Like it turns me on. I feel alive. I'm like, heck yes, let's go. And that fuels me to show up every day with consistency. That's coming from the heart. That's coming from the soul. That's coming from my CEO self. That's going to give me the results. But when I say I need to because they will like me, it will make me money. Not saying there's anything wrong with making money, but when you're like, I have to make this money, I have to be legit. And when I make this money, I feel legit. I have to look a certain way. So I'm legit to my parents or my in laws or my old company or people. No, honey, you don't. You actually don't. You can and you will when you come from your heart space and your soul and your CEO self. and you can have big, hairy goals, and you can help a lot of people, and you can make a big impact, and you can have high standards, and you can have a high quality life, and you can have all your dreams desire when it's coming from that place. But when you're in a place of, I need this so that I can be that, or I need them to think this about me so I can feel validated, that's coming from perfectionism. That's coming from ego. That's coming from wounded. And that's a dangerous territory because it's not sustainable. It's critical, and it's going to lead you to burnout, and it's going to lead you down a path of trying and forcing, but not actually building your self worth from the ground up, not doing the work that we really need to do to build a beautiful foundation that we can launch from, a foundation of intention and using our energy for the things that matter, which will get us the result that we're after. So look at, who is this serving and what is this serving? Again, I'm not saying you can't have high standards. There's a level of preparation that goes into everything that I do. I prepare for these podcasts. I prepare for all my programs. I do a lot to take care of myself so that I can channel, so that I can create, so that I can show up. But I don't overanalyze it anymore. I just don't. I give myself a certain amount of time. I give myself a certain amount of edits, and then it's done. And then I show up with my heart in the right place. And sometimes I nail it, and sometimes it's messy, but everything is a lesson or a blessing. If it's messy, I learn and I adjust and I adapt quickly. If it's a blessing, I say, hell yeah, that felt so good. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. So, yes, there's a level of intentionality. Yes, there's a level of preparation that goes into what I do. So it's high quality. So it's standard, but I don't obsess. Do you see the difference? Obsession is the extreme. Not putting it out because it's not perfect is the extreme. Giving a shit about what people think. Some people are going to love it. Some people are not going to resonate. I'm not speaking to the people that this doesn't resonate with. They can find another coach, teacher, mentor, guide that they do resonate with. And that's beautiful. You don't have to be for everyone. But when you're doing something in hopes that you will be more liked, be more loved, be included, get somewhere else, have someone's approval, that's not the path for you, babe. Easier said than done. So I want to normalize that and I want to name that. We all fall into that trap too, by the way. I certainly do. Oh, I really hope people like this. Oh, I hope this makes my mom and dad proud. Oh, I hope my husband's impressed by this. Oh, I wonder if my kids are looking up to me. Yeah, but without obsession, without over analyzing, without over exerting my time, energy, and sanity such that it's costing me what I need to keep on track. And so I want you just to start to tease some of this apart because there's not only these three as differentiators. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure each three show up differently for you than they show up for me. I just want you to start to get curious about, for you, where and how do I know that I'm in a high standard, which is okay, versus the slippery slope into perfectionism. Start following your signs. Where are you extreme? Where is it feeling like force in your body? Where are you seeking external validation, and what else? And how do you piece by piece begin to release that and shed that and let that go and get back to your CEO self, back to your vision and say, what do I think is good here? What do I think is right here? How do I know it's enough? How do I show up day by day, minute by minute, just piece by piece? How do I show myself a ton of compassion when I fall off and I get back on? How do I recommit to my mission and my vision? How do I take care of myself? How do I make sure that I'm kind along the way? Because ridiculing myself does not help me stay the long game, right? So it is a slippery slope, my friends. It absolutely is a slippery slope between high standards and perfectionism. But it's building the awareness, and then it's noticing when you're falling into perfectionism and building the muscle of getting back into the lane that I'm paving with you, the lane that we're paving together, where we can have big, hairy goals, but we get there step by step. And it's those that have the awareness and they're quick to adjust, to get back into alignment. They're the ones that get where they want to go. They make the adjustments. Oh, gosh, you know what? I did a little too much there. I obsessed a little too much. I went a little too hard. Now I have resentment. Now I have exhaustion. Let me quickly adapt and get back into the zone of flow. Those that adjust quickly, honey, they're the ones that get the sustainable results. Those that build the muscle of getting back in the game, they're the ones that make the freaking difference. So, where can you build your awareness and build your muscle to get back in the game, back into the flow, back into your heart center, back into your CEO, and just keep showing up baby step after baby step? Because you got this and I got you. And together, we're finding new and meaningful ways to create beautiful lives. It's not to say that there aren't going to be hard moments, hard seasons. We get to choose our hard. And some of this hard that we've chosen, we get to release. And that's why I say life is better unperfected. Because when we shed the shoulds and we let go of the intense force and the need of external validation and the creating from a place of not enoughness, we now have time, energy, and sanity to sail this ship where we want to go. If you want more support on your journey, get in my Unstuck and Unstoppable course or follow me on Instagram so you can see when the next group is launching or the next mastermind is launching, or get on my calendar for an intensive. But let's do this together, because we are allowed to have big, hairy goals. I feel like I've said that way too many times, so my bad. We are allowed to have high standards. We are allowed to make a meaningful impact. We are allowed to live an abundant life. But here's what's different. In the unperfected way, we do it in a way that feels good. And we show ourselves a ton of grace when we fall off track. And that's how we're sustainable. I love you so much. Take care of yourselves and therefore each other. I'll see you same time, same place next week. Bye.
Hey, Mama, if you made it to the end of this episode, I just want to virtually high five you because you've said yes to the opportunity of taking better care of yourself. And that is so meaningful and so amazing. You have no idea the ripple of goodness that's to come. If you've been enjoying the show, if you've been finding it helpful, if you've laughed a little or learned a new technique, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure that you're following the show, that you've given us a 5-star rating and left a review? That will absolutely help us get this podcast into more heads and hearts of as many mamas as possible. Because when we heal the mother, we heal the world. Also, if there's a specific episode that you've loved, will you make sure to share it with a friend? Just send them the link or share it on social media, and make sure you tag me at Brooke Jean Unperfected, because I absolutely love seeing that this is actually giving you the impact that you so desire and deserve. Thank you so much, mamas. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and therefore each other.